My name's Matilda Stout, and I teach English at Palo Alto College. I've been here for 15 years, and this is my second webinar. So I'm so happy you're here. Share my screen now so we can look at the agenda together. Thumbs up if you can see my slide. Awesome. Okay, so this is engaging students with mindfulness and self-reflection. I'm a big fan of mindfulness. Chanel just said earlier she was meditating this morning, so I like that we have some mindfulness folks here. So welcome. What I would like to do, since we're such a small group, if we could just quickly share what is our discipline and at which college do we teach. So I'll call on you in the order that you appear on my screen. So I first see Julie. Julie, do you want to give us your discipline and college?
Sure. I'm at Palo Alto College. I'm the director of our Teaching and Learning Center, and once in a while I adjunct in the teacher education program. And I just want to tell Matilda, thank you so much for being part of this inaugural semester of our TLC webinars, and thanks to each and every one of you for being here. I'll be monitoring the chat too. I wanted to say that in case you have questions that you can't get out right away. I'll pause occasionally, or Matilda will pause and we can answer questions.
Thanks, Julie. Russ?
Yes, my name is Russ Wagner. I teach at Palo Alto too. I teach EDUC 1300. I've been known to teach English on occasion, and I'm currently a faculty fellow for professional development representing our college.
Thanks, Russ. Chanel?
Hi, I'm at Palo Alto, and I work in high school programs, specifically with the TRIO Upward Bound program.
Awesome. Welcome, Chanel. Jesus?
Hi, I am at Palo Alto College also, and I teach foreign languages, French and Spanish, and Chinese. And I've been teaching for 8 years here at Palo Alto College, and I really enjoy teaching. So I'm glad.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesus. Good to see you, man. Suzelle. Hi, Suzelle.
My name is Suzelle Molina, and I'm all over the place. I teach Canese. I teach EDUC 1300. I teach in the teacher education department. I teach psychology, and that's about it.
Nice. Thank you, Suzelle. Suzelle's at Palo Alto with us too. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm at Palo Alto. I'm so much all over the place. I don't even know where I am. Still chasing the tail.
Yep.
I want some of that coffee Russ is drinking.
Thanks, Suzelle. Luis?
Hi, I'm Luis Rangel. I teach humanities courses at San Antonio College.
Beautiful. Thank you, Luis. Welcome. Sylvia?
Hi, Sylvia Phillips, and I teach English at San Antonio College.
Welcome, Sylvia. Amanda?
Hey, I'm Amanda Harrison. I'm at Palo Alto College. I'm actually the academic assessment coordinator, but I have taught math previously. And yeah, I'm here because I think this aligns really well with our ILOs.
Thanks, Amanda. And Helene?
Hi, I'm Helene, and I work at Northeast, and I'm in the tutoring services. I work with writing.
Thank you, Helene. Welcome. Paul?
Hi there, good morning. Yeah, and I prefer Mark. I teach at SAC. I'm in the Natural Sciences Department.
Thanks, Mark. Andrea?
Hi, I'm Andrea Cardenas. I am full-time faculty teaching computers at San Antonio College.
Good to see you, Andrea.
Good to see you too.
Okay, let's get started. So today I'm going to walk you through just 2 exercises I do in my classes. I think that these 2 exercises are really conducive to easily customizing for your respective discipline. They're also pretty low maintenance. They don't require a lot of prep work. And more importantly, the focus of both of these exercises is to get students to slow down and have sort of checks and balances of their own learning. Having students reflect on, are they comprehending the material? Where are they struggling? At the end of the two exercises, I'm going to ask that we collaborate and learn from each other. I know that we are all experienced faculty, and I really want to make this session more an open dialogue of exchanging ideas between with. So at the end, I'm going to ask you, what do you do in your classes? All right, so I want to start with a little discussion. I'm going to present a scenario, and then I'd like you to think about it and answer some of these questions I have for you. So the scenario is this. Students have recently submitted a big project or assignment. You, being the great teacher that you are, have taken the time to write thorough feedback and provide comments about your students' work. So my question to you is, when you return the students' work with your in-depth comments, what typically happens? What do students typically do when you return their graded work? Or how do they typically respond to your thorough feedback, if at all? Or, you know, you may even want to think about, how do students react when they never submitted said assignment? So how do students who did not submit the assignment behave as you're returning the assignment to others? What's the vibe like in the room?
Okay, I think that in the room, the others try to compare notes. You know, like, how did you do?
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Some try to ask for a rewrite.
Okay, so comparing and contrast, right? There's like, hey, what'd you get? What'd you get? Or, oh man, this again, for sure. Other thoughts?
I honestly, if I'm going to be honest, sometimes when I give a lot of feedback, a lot of times I'll get nothing. You know, it's just sort of that there isn't a response sometimes. You know.
Okay, so you feel like your feedback's kind of not acknowledged or not seen?
Or you just don't know that outcome, you know, what happened with it, yeah.
For sure, I agree with that.
I would kind of piggyback off of what Russ is saying, because I taught high school freshmen and I also taught high school seniors, and my algebra freshman students, there'd be a handful that would look at that feedback and read it and do something with it. But my seniors that were in an AP class, they took that feedback a little bit more seriously. But yeah, I agree. You don't know that outcome sometimes. It depends on how much time you have to allow them to look at it too in class and ask questions and interact with it.
Good. Yeah, I completely agree, Amanda. I think like what you hit the nail on the head when you said it really depends on how much time we give them to spend with that feedback. Absolutely.
I think she also brought up a good point that it kind of depends on the class itself, and like the, you know, every class has kind of a personality. So that, you know, depending on the characters in the class, but also, you know, Amanda mentioned different maturity levels of the students. You know, freshmen in high school, which some of us have in our classes because of dual credit in early college high school. We have seniors, we have adults, we have, you know, first time in college students. We have such a wide range of students. So that's kind of an interesting, you know, thing that affects how students respond.
Thanks, Julie. Suzelle?
Julie stole some of my answers. So in the introduction to education course, we're in a setting where we're modeling behaviors so that they would learn how to be good teachers. And so sometimes when we give them feedback, if we give them more than just written feedback, it seems to be more powerful. So, and I know that's difficult in many classes, but to role play how we could be able to extend that feedback so it's not necessarily criticism or constructive criticism, but it's how we would forward think, how we would get that feedback, and we would replace that with maybe a different kind of concept, a different kind of behavior. I think sometimes that is helpful because then the students will think it's just not me. I'm not the only one that's receiving this kind of feedback. Others are struggling with this same concept as well. And then I turned it around and said, you know what, maybe I'm not the greatest teacher today or yesterday or whenever I was going over this. Let's talk about this and let's relearn it. So I take the responsibility of hitting the bump in the road as well.
Absolutely, Suzelle. Thanks. You said that Julie had stole some of what you were going to say, and you just stole a lot of what I was going to say. Get out of my head, Suzelle. So you'll see.
I'm logging off right now. I'm leaving.
No, don't go. Now you'll see a lot of what Suzelle just said actually reflected in my upcoming slides. All right, guys, thanks. I would like to address, though, this alternative question that I have, which is about students who didn't submit the assignment. So I heard Sylvia say, students will typically compare, hey, what'd you get, or ask for rewrite. Well, what about those students who didn't do the assignment? And in my experience, I find that and this may be because I'm just an empath, but I feel the tension and energy in the room whenever, because I was there when I was a college student. I didn't submit all of my assignments, and I felt like such a jerk when I saw all of my peers get their work back, and I realized I didn't do it. I'm that guy, right? Like, don't be that guy. I was that guy. So I want to show you an activity that I do in my classes to help students reflect on their own learning. So this is the instructions that I give them after I hand back their assignment. I tell them to take the time to really read and digest the comments that I wrote about your assignment. You need to comprehend the feedback that I provided for you. Then make a short list of your common mistakes. In other words, diagnose yourself. What are you struggling with? What's giving you difficulty with this content? But also not staying in that negative space, but also recognizing what are you doing well? What's coming easy for you with this material? Give yourself some props. And then for those who didn't do it, if you did not complete this assignment, because I don't want to shun them, right? We don't want to exclude or make these students feel out of the loop like they don't belong if they didn't complete it. So if you didn't complete this assignment and therefore have no feedback, then make a short list about why you didn't complete the assignment. What obstacles or challenges prevented you from completing this assignment? So in essence, no exercise goes without value. So once they've taken some time to write their short list here, then we actually get into the activity. We hold a mock AA meeting. So what that means is we simulate an actual AA meeting where we actually sit in a circle and we take turns telling our stories. And so I don't ask my students to do anything that I'm not willing to do first. So I go first and I share my weakness in my respective discipline, which is composition. So I give them an example round and I say, hi, my name's Matilda, and then I sort of make them all, I lead them to say in all together, hi, Matilda, I am a comma abuser. I have a problem with commas. I tend to overuse them or place them in incorrect spots. And what I find from this is that when everyone is vulnerable and we can be open and honest, community is built in the classroom. And for students who didn't complete the assignment, well, they're given the opportunity to have a hard talk or realization with themselves about their time management or other factors that need to change so they're able to meet deadlines. And I always think of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. I'm looking at the man in the mirror, because that's essentially what they're doing. They're looking at themselves. And then also once students, and this is a tenet of AA, right, that once students can admit they have a problem, then they can work on fixing the problem. And so I put problem in quotation marks because we want students to know that it's okay to make mistakes. And making mistakes is how we learn. And we want to normalize, not stigmatize mistakes. And this encourages a growth mindset. And this shows all of the students that they're not alone. Oh, I just realized I have growth mindset twice. That's okay. I'm emphasizing it. It's there on purpose. It requires students to also be present in their learning. Students can walk away with a clear plan of action. And also, I think for us faculty, it gives us peace of mind knowing that our students are aware of their areas for improvement. Are there any thoughts or comments or questions? Anything anyone wants to add? Okay, I'm going to move on then. So for this second exercise that I want to share with you, so here's the scenario. You've just facilitated a new activity in your class. This may have been an active learning assignment. Actually, I'm going to pause here if that's okay with you. I want to go back. I want to go back to my mock AA meetings. And before I jump to the next one, and I want to ask you guys, is there anything in this assignment that you all think I can improve or change? Are there any questions you have about how this activity pans out? Basically, I wanted to share activities that are customizable easily to any discipline. So I know that we all teach different things. In my head, I visualize that this activity could be used for any class or any scenario, because really what we're asking students to do is just think about their progress.
Do they do any writing, or is this just thinking in their head?
The writing that they do is the short comprehensive list of those common mistakes that they find. And the next exercise is a writing assignment. Go ahead, Julie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if you have them not just think about it, but also actually write something down. And then I know you have them talk about it. I might add I remember when I taught Spanish, they would articulate the errors they made, and then there was it was kind of a form that I created, and then they would write what they could do to improve that next time. So we added, and I don't know if that's here.
No, exactly. Yeah, so I do have them write a little bit, and the next activity is more writing focused. I saw in chat, Sylvia asked, what is props? I don't even really know the long word for it. I just know props means like giving kudos, giving recognition, giving a compliment. I don't even know if I spelled it right, if that's the real abbreviation of it. I will tell, yeah, it's a pat on your back. But I will say that one of the things I struggled with this, props is short for proppers. Thanks, Mark. Proper, yeah, that makes sense. One thing that I was weary about this assignment was maybe a trigger for somebody who had maybe an alcoholic family member or friend. I didn't want to minimize the seriousness of addiction and alcoholism. But so far, I will say, I've been doing this assignment now for years, and that issue hasn't come up, so I think it's more like me projecting.
You have another, for that AA acronym, maybe you could come up with other words. What does the A and A stand for in this activity? What are the
Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, maybe Writers Anonymous, Sylvia, or sorry, Suzelle, were you going to say this, Suzelle?
I was just going to say, I call it circle time. And so if you wanted to use, I think we have to be careful. I teach substance abuse, and we have to be careful with having a correlation between this, because it means something else, and if you really wanted to use, say, AA, then maybe you could make it mean something else. And then if that were the case, if you want to use the format of AA, then normally that means that you have some type of resource. So when you talked about maybe students that did not complete the activity, and they maybe needed help with their time management, then provide some resources. And so since we're remote, you could have some resources where there's, Zoom links and things like that people could be able to get help for, our shortcomings. And so my shortcoming is public speaking, and so I don't do that very well. So, and I always tell my students I needed help to learn to come over to get over my anxiety. So just making it so that you also show your weakness within this format, this activity.
I think also thinking,
I love that.
just like what Suzelle was saying, it's like thinking about what the purpose of doing this is. Like, what's your ultimate purpose for having them go through this exercise? You want them to be able to apply these steps to other assignments in other classes, right? You're trying to teach them how to take the feedback you're giving them, think about it, and apply changes next time. I mean, that's the ultimate purpose. So what? Yeah.
I love that. So if we're really staying in line with the AA system, a big part of it, like Suzelle said, is offering resources. So I love that. I'm going to use that to improve my assignment. I'm going to include a part at the end that lists the different resources to help them address those different quote-unquote problems that they have. I love that. This is great. This is for me. Well, this whole session is also for me too, for you guys to help me. All right.
I think it's a really great application though, and a good example, because when you think, because I don't think we do that enough, this kind of process enough and if I tie in this whole idea of growth mindset, that students that will have a growth mindset sort of have already developed and learned some metacognitive strategies, but all the students that have not, that have sort of a fixed mindset, they need to start thinking about how they learn, and it's empowering too for them, right? That they're in control, because a lot of students, I think, feel that they're not in control of their learning, and view everything as a mistake or bad or good, and getting them to sort of be empowered to make changes and think is really just very important. So
thanks, Russ. I'm going to move on. I'm going to give you another scenario. You've just facilitated a new activity in your class. This may have been an active learning assignment or an exercise that requires students to try something new. Students may have been asked to work together or as individuals. By the time the activity is over, there's no more time left in class and students have to leave. So here's my question. How do you know your students understood the material in the exercise? I mean, they've just left. You won't see them again for another day or two. Other than tests and quizzes, how do you check their comprehension and make sure they're present in class? How do you check their getting? How do you check if your assignment was effective? Any thoughts?
One thing that comes to my mind just off the top of my head is doing things like an exit ticket, which I do sometimes at the end of class. If you run out of time, but an exit ticket you can sort of do in a minute. Students write what they struggled with, what they learned on a note card and pass it in at the end, or put it on a sticky and stick it on the door on the way out, something like that, just as an idea.
All right, I like that, an exit ticket or like a minute paper.
Yeah, that's something I've used before too. The Post-it note is just so easy, or the index card, for them to write even just a concept or a phrase, or to just say, you know, how they felt about the lesson. I was also fortunate that when I was teaching, I had these really cool calculators that connected to Wi-Fi, so I was able to send some really easy, quick checks right at the end of class.
Cool. That is cool. I never heard of that. Calculator with Wi-Fi access? What?
Yeah, they do. They do everything except for make phone calls.
Wow. Nice.
I like the calculators that give you the answers.
They do that too.
Yeah, but for all the test questions.
So my struggle is that after we do get real specific, since I'm in composition, last class we participated in our first peer review assignment where I had students switch papers with each other and give each other constructive feedback. And then class was over and I thought, oh man, did they walk away with just feeling vulnerable, like they had just been put on the spot? They had essentially a stranger telling them everything they did wrong in their paper. And that wasn't my goal. My goal was to have them understand that writing is a process and there's steps involved, and one of those steps is getting feedback. And I was worried that they didn't make that connection, that they just thought, I have someone being critical of my work. So what I did was I have them complete this assignment where they think about thinking. So I left a blank here so you can fill in the blank with whatever discipline or assignments that you assign for your students. So you would tell your students, for example, now that you've completed your first, I don't know, lab or whatever people do outside of English, that's what I know, that's my world. Some time to reflect on your experience by answering the following questions. So let's ask our students, what did you think about this assignment? What did you dislike? What did you enjoy? What will you do differently for the next one? And then now this one's about us as faculty. What would you change about our assignment? What would you change about how we facilitated and designed our assignment? And again, for those who were absent and didn't participate, if you did not participate or complete this assignment, then talk about that. Explain why. I try to encourage them to elaborate by using details and specifics. I want them to reflect on the process. So sometimes I give them a length requirement. Specify, you know, you should give at least 3 to 4 sentences for each question. You can also write more. Sometimes I will keep it sparse and just tell them to keep it really short, because a lot of these things, we don't want them to be too arduous. We want them to be low stakes and students feel like they got this. So I have some actual student examples. Now this is from yesterday. Literally yesterday, a student submitted this. And it was after our peer review activity. She answered the questions, but the one I wanted to highlight for you was this one. What will you do differently for the next peer review? And she said, I feel like I didn't really give as much feedback because I was scared of hurting my peers' feelings. And she said, I suck at giving my opinion on things. So I just want you to think about that. Keep that in the back of your mind, and we'll come back to this in a minute. I'm going to show you another student example. This one's a little bit longer. So again, I want to stress the importance of customizing this concept for your discipline or your classes. So I customize it. I have my students reading about police officers and policing, and specifically they were asked to present on an article we read about the history of police officers. And they had a working, so I had them rate or grade their group members. And this student said, I give Victoria 100 because she was excellent at presenting. She spoke clearly, and when it was time to work on the presentation, she helped and came up with ideas and edited half the slides. Now this is where it gets good, guys. Hold on tight. Now she says for Brianna, she knew that we had to work on the presentation, and we all had agreed on a date to work on. But when the time came, she said she was out of town and that she was busy. And I didn't understand. I set up a date and not show, especially for schoolwork. But me and Victoria had already finished the PowerPoint. We tried to give her some time, and we told her to come up with some questions, and she never came to it. So we just finished. And then my student says, I feel me and Victoria didn't do anything wrong. Like we took charge, and we all assigned who gets to do what to make it equal so no one would have to do more than others. But it just ended up being only 2 people to do all the work. I don't know if this would sound harsh, but what if it was just me and Victoria in one group? But I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So we're getting really into this mind and understanding the dynamic that maybe normally we wouldn't have privy to. So hold on to that. I'm going to give you just one last student example. Now this is where the constructive comes in for me as their instructor. The thing I disliked about this assignment, and again, this was my fault, was that we didn't get enough information on how we could have done the assignment. We didn't know we could use Google Slides, and it gave us a hard time on how to make our presentation fun and creative. One negative is that we didn't have much time outside of class to help each other because some of us work or have other classes the same day. One downside is that in the breakout room before the presentation, we didn't seem to have enough time to help each other out. Now, when I read this as their instructor, that's all on me. That was my bad. These were areas that I need to improve for the next assignment. So what this assignment does is it lets students practice metacognition, but they also feel empowered to take charge of their own learning. They feel empowered because they know they can change and improve the assignment instructions. And I tell them to think about for my future students, if you want to help them out, tell me how I can help my future students and how I change this. So I receive that constructive feedback on the ineffectiveness or effectiveness. But then also I receive that special insight into their insecurities or worries. And this allows me to further humanize them. So I'm going to go back, and I want to go back to that student sample where she said, I was scared of hurting my peers' feelings, and I suck at giving my opinions. So this tells me 2 things. One, she is conscientious about others' feelings. That tells me that the student is empathetic, and then also it tells me that she's insecure about her own thoughts and what she has to say. I suck at giving my opinions. And that gives me so much more insight into students. And then also here, this example, I would have never known that Brianna V did not contribute to the group work if I didn't give the student the opportunity to share that with me. Any thoughts, observations, insights?
Unfortunately, we receive students that have been products of our state mandated assessment processes. So these students are being taught the test, and from the time they're in kindergarten on. So they're in TEKS and they have to pass the tests, and so there's this cookie cutter approach that they've had in their learning experiences. And so peer review is not part of anything that they've been taught. And so this opportunities that we have, the group work and all the other things, that's not necessarily a priority. And I think Amanda and Julie, and I don't know any others that have been teachers in the public schools, but you know, I think that sometimes we have to look at it at their perspective and find out what are the missing pieces as educators that we can do to give them this confidence at any level, confidence to give feedback to others, confidence to give feedback to us. And so as we teach, sometimes we have to flip the pancake and say, you know what, there's another side of this. What can we do to make this learning experience, this thinking experiences more real, more powerful, something that they are going to use to transfer learning in other courses or connect in other courses.
I have to respond to that because yeah, I agree to a certain extent, but I also think we have to not overgeneralize what's going on in the K-12 classrooms, because there are a ton of like excellent teachers that do peer reviews and we can learn a lot from them. So I have to say that. But
absolutely, you're right, Julie. I didn't mean it that way. I meant that that sometimes the structure of, you know, they're so stressed of having to be that test, you know, and but absolutely, I never meant to the other way.
Yeah. No, I know, and I know that you know more than others, but a lot of people that are teaching at the community college or in higher ed haven't had the K-12 experience, and so it's easy for people to blame what's happening in K-12, and that is not completely accurate, as you know. So I always have to stick up for my K-12 compadres, but
can you tell us more about what's going on at K-12?
No, not in the next 20 minutes.
Well, no.
No. I wanted to also say that sometimes I think it's helpful to get, when students express something like, I have a hard time giving my opinion, sometimes we need to help them by giving them some phrases they can use to give their opinion. So like, you know, we talk about sentence stems, or, you know, you have to teach them how to give feedback that is objective and that's aligned with what was expected in the assignment. So actually giving them the words to use.
I think another benefit just in general, or the use of this sort of type of structured assignment, is to touch on, in particular with group work, is the idea of teaching students how to work together and how to work as a team, and have opportunities to sort of help them or coach them along in that process, because it is a process, you know.
Yeah, and teamwork is one of the, you know, state mandated institutional learning outcomes for every core curriculum in every college across the state. And it's about, you know, so we have to teach them how to work in teams. So yeah, good point.
I love this. Are you all able to see when I'm typing and adding more to my slides? Okay, because I really want to thank you all, because you're improving my content here, and you're improving my understanding of what we're doing. So thank you all so much. Yeah, this is good, and I think these are all things that.
Did she freeze?
I think she's frozen, yeah.
Oh, shoot.
The things we cannot control, right, these days. she'll probably be back. I think this also sort of lends itself in a general term to, building community in the classroom too. I mean, is a big, it's a important part of getting to the actual teaching and learning, and if you have, if you can almost, I miss being in the classroom so much because you can always feel the energy a lot. I can feel the energy in the classroom, and but that community building part is really important for me. While she's getting back on, does anyone have any kind of reflective activities like this with students that you want to share? Where students reflect on their experience?
Yes, like I said in my chat, I don't know if anyone read it, but I do have them do a self-review free write, especially after their first essay. And as one thing I don't do, though, I have never asked them what they like about the assignment itself. I ask more about their performance. But I can easily start adding something about the assignment itself, because as we go forward, I can see what could be changed to make any particular essay assignment better.
Thanks, Sylvia. And I'm back. Yeah. Go ahead, Rose.
Okay.
No, we were just chatting
Okay.
about the assignment, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, what did I leave off on? What was the last thing you all heard me say before I froze?
That you like the feedback to increase the goodness of your presentation, the quality.
Okay. Okay, yeah, okay, right on. I was saying that I think as faculty or whatever our respective position is on campus, is that we can also apply these things to ourselves. And so when I'm asked to serve on a committee or perform different service to my department, I also have to check myself and remind myself how I can best give constructive feedback. So I think it's a good practice for both faculty and students as well. All right, so let me get back to my slide then. Let's see how much time we have left. We have 15 minutes left. All right. Now I wanted to ask you all, what do you do in the classroom to have your students slow down and just reflect on their learning? Is there anything you do? I want us to learn from each other.
For a little while there, I was using a Avid strategy called Cornell Notes. Maybe they're more common than I know. I don't know. But they had students, the way that the notes are formatted, students had to, they had space at the bottom of the notes to interact with them in a way that they had to summarize kind of what they learned and reflect on the lesson for the day. But it also had a column off to the left-hand side that was for questions that they developed during the lesson that maybe they didn't get to ask. And so that was one way I had students slow down in the actual lesson itself. I think I could have done a better job having my students reflect on assignments more. I know I did test reflections, but I think I could have done a better job with just your typical assignments.
That's a really good point, Amanda, because I really emphasize that Cornell Notes, and not just as an organizational tool, because it can be for note taking, but the fact that it forces students, and I make it a point to talk with students about the fact that of why it's important, right? The reflection is important in learning, that you by making a summary of your notes at the bottom after, and actually creating quiz questions for yourself is thinking about it and thus learning, and you'll remember it better. And there's lots of it's just it has a lot of value in incidental learning. Just it just happens easier, better. Yeah, that's great.
And I mean, I'm just saying that I was able to get a bunch of high school freshmen to buy into that. So if I can get my 14-year-olds to do that by the end of the year on their own, I think you could get anyone to do it.
Well, the fact of the matter is, a lot of students, the strategy they apply is, I take notes, I read my notes 8,000 times, and try to get it into my head, and that's my interpretation of learning.
Put their notebook under their pillow. It's like sleep on top of your notes.
I think that one of my worries, I got kicked off again, but I'm back on, but one of my worries was that a lot of what I've shared with you today is very much adjacent to that old practice of having students write long. I will not turn in my homework late. I will not turn in my homework late. And that was again, probably more my projection, was my criticism to myself. I thought, oh, I don't want to be a drill sergeant here. I want to proceed with more, softness and understanding for them. But essentially, I feel like if I had to summarize a lot of these concepts, it's just having the students recognize where they need to improve. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. So is there anything else that anyone else wants to share? Amanda shared her practice of Cornell notes, and I got kicked off, so I may have missed something else, but is there anything else that you have your students do to sort of reflect on their own learning?
Suzelle and Evelyn have this amazing, e-portfolio that they've been sharing with a lot of faculty. I don't know if you want to say something about the whole purpose of that is, reflection.
Yeah, the e-portfolio. We have the e-portfolio expert with us right now, Suzelle. And so correct me if I'm wrong, Suzelle, but the way I summarized it on the slide was that it's essentially a collection of the students' accomplishments. And so sometimes that means that it's their work, it's their assignments, it's anything that they created.
And it's an opportunity to empower the students, not only with their works, but to receive jobs. So last semester in our EDUC classes, and everyone that had portfolios, we had almost 200 students at Palo Alto get remote jobs when we had the pandemic. And this was helpful for single parents. It was helpful for students that were just struggling because their parents were unable to keep their jobs, and they needed to be the ones that paid utilities, paid the rent, and things like that. So Amazon was very grateful to our students and helped them get remote jobs. So students got tablets, they got phones from Amazon, and they became customer service representatives and learned how to communicate with others. So if you want to put portfolium.com, Sylvia, we would love to have you be part of our group, and it's a free service. It's also owned by Canvas, so it has numerous types of tools in there, and we'll be more than happy to share our templates with you. And our English faculties often say, I don't have to worry about plagiarism because their students are published, they publish their works, and so this gives them an opportunity to not worry about that. So it makes all of us happy.
That's amazing. I've even heard the same from faculty. there have been some faculty who've created their own e-portfolios using Portfolio and have received job offers. Yeah, maybe some of those job offers even offer tenure. I don't know. But that's a selling point for sure. Okay, guys, well, I don't have enough time for my next slide, which was, oh, by the way, again, Portfolio, if you want to get your students involved with that, you would like to have your students actually practice the portfolio process and system and create their own. There's the website. And also, Suzelle, are you the point of contact?
Edlin and I,
Okay, Edlin, yeah, Edlin and Suzelle.
I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect, that'd be great, thank you. All right, so my next slide, I don't think we have enough time for, but that was, I wanted you to practice customizing one of these assignments to best suit your class / discipline, but we don't have time for that, but I do encourage you to do that. And let's see, that was all I had, guys. The last slide was just my, oh, actually, that's not true. Here's the last slide here. I want to hear from you all. What is one assignment that you learned about today, or assignment or activity, exercise, that you plan on implementing in your class? And if so, how do you plan on customizing it? Was there anything you heard today that you could sort of take tidbits from, pick and pull, pick and choose, like a Luby's cafeteria, you go through and you get to pick and choose what you want, what you don't want. Was there anything that you would pick from this Luby's cafeteria that you can use in your classes?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sylvia.
Good. Miss Stud, I know we can't do the activity. Could you please at least just show the slide?
Sure.
Just we can at least look at what you would have done.
Yeah. Was that the slide for
one where we can't do it? The very last one where we customize. That's it.
Yeah, I was just going to give you all time to make it more applicable, to make this material more applicable to your student body and discipline.
Could you just show the slide though, even if we can't do it? Yeah.
Oh, right. No, that's all the slides, Sylvia. I don't have much for you.
Oh, okay. I thought it had 2 columns.
Oh, no, it did, but there was nothing in there. I was literally just going to give you time to to complete a deliverable that you could implement in your class.
I like that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I think for myself, what I'm going to change and implement in my class is with the mock AA meetings, I'm going to embed a part where I give students resources. And that was something that Suzelle mentioned earlier. I plan to implement that and change that in how I facilitate that exercise. I think that's really powerful because we can't just have them expose their problems and issues. We have to give them solutions to the problem. So that's one thing I'm going to change is give them resources.
Okay.
I think that I would love to have applied the, whatever we want to call it, the circle up, or the AA meeting. I think I would have loved to have applied that when I was teaching my AP course, because we have a lot of free response questions. They call them FRQs, and sometimes it's really hard to diagnose what you do know and what you don't know. I think it would have been great, like one of the issues was students would get docked points on the AP test if they use the word it, like it went up, it was positive, I mean, that's like in all of life, it isn't very descriptive, but it was a big deal because it was either you got 3 points or you got 0 points. So I could see some students talking about, their it problem or being able to actually kind of see more from the vocabulary of their peers where they're struggling. So I would have loved to have used that.
I think that's huge. And I think also this practice, what you just described, Amanda, is very much on par with what professionals do in the different industries. especially in art, a big part of art and majors, we see this a lot, and even professional art critics, they first expose their work, they share it with their colleagues in that field, and they solicit their criticism. And I think that that is really important. Okay, that's my time, guys. It's about 11. It's about 11:30. I did just want to share my contact information with you all. If you had any questions, or you wanted me to share slides with you,